Hey everyone, this is Ed. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a few things that were requested in the comments. People have been asking me more about, kind of the way I use the Supernote, how it looks on the desktop app, which we aren't going to be able to cover because that's been a little bit, it's just in beta and they've had to roll back some features. So we won't be able to do that in this video, but we are going to take a look at the Cloud app and how that functions and what you can do with it. And we're also going to take a little bit of time to look at the way I use it. Just recently completed some oral exams for students, and I use the Supernote in what I think is a really cool way to help me multitask between taking notes, tracking participation, and just overall looking at what was going on with the preparation and during the exercise itself. And the last couple of things we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the screen mirroring function and the file sharing function. That way you can really get an idea how you can use this device to be able to share information more quickly and readily. It's very important to me that the channel not just be about the device itself, but also about the way you use it. So the things you're doing and the things you're thinking about. It's not just a promotion of the Supernote. You can do many of these things on other devices, but at the same time, it's what I use and it's what I have. So I think it's really important that I show you the actual case of how those things work for me. As always, thank you so much for your support. We're over 300 subscribers now. We're on our way to that magic 500 mark. We have had approaching 20,000 views since this channel launched in December. So thank you so much for all of your support. Please like and subscribe. Add your comments to the discussion. It really makes me feel engaged, and it just is fun to see people engaging with each other and having a dialogue about all of these different topics around organization. With that said, let's go ahead and get started with the video, and I will see you in a bit. So, as I mentioned, we've had several questions in the comments asking to show a little bit more about how the Supernote Cloud works, how the app works with the different document types, how it presents, how it syncs, all of those different things that are really important. And I think that unfortunately, Supernote gets a little bit of a bad rap when it comes to the functionality of their cloud service. Is it perfect? Is it like Google Drive? Is it like OneDrive? No, it's not going to be that fast, that instantaneous, although they are working and just released a bug fix for the autosync, but it's slower. And it does have what they call these conflict files occasionally, where you get the same file pretty much duplicated, but with the word conflict and a date added at the end of it. So it can be a little annoying sometimes to go ahead and do that cleanup and make sure that everything is syncing properly. But overall, especially when you're trying to be able to read the notes that you're taking in an online medium, you really can't get past the fact that the proprietary note can't be read directly from OneDrive or Google or Dropbox, pretty much any other cloud service. So it's really important to think through your workflow and whether or not you're going to be sharing these particular aspects. Now, one thing we're going to look at is from a current example of something I did at work. Now, I'm using my A5X here, which is what I primarily use when it comes to something I need a larger canvas for. And as I've said on my A6X2 reviews, that's very good for note taking when you don't have to worry about, uh, the space that you're working with. This gives me plenty of room and plenty of space and still has a lot of the same functionality, pretty much most of it, that the A6X2 does. For example, this week we gave oral exams for our midterms, And I've changed this so that there's no student information on it, but I replicated the template that I used to be able to observe these conversations that students were having with each other. They were discussing these different authors, and I wanted to keep track of participation. I also wanted to compare it to how they wrote up their pre work for what they were going to discuss. And so I actually, up here in this corner or in the top of each of these quadrants, had a link to their written submissions that were submitted digitally so that I could actually move back and forth between that or tracking participation, how many questions they asked. And then I also included these note links here at the bottom of each one. That way I could quickly, if one student was talking, I could press and I could go directly, write a few notes, go straight back. Another student starts speaking. I do the tick mark. I jump into the notes. And what I did was I created several pages for each of these students. And then at the end, I cleaned that up. So if I only had one page of notes for a student, then I deleted all of the pages that didn't need to be there. So it's a really handy tool. If you want to see what this looks like in the app, you'll see right here that when I click on this, now what it's going to do to begin with is it's going to convert it into an image for you to be able to see. Sometimes that takes a little while for it to do that, but it works fairly well. So now you can see everything that I was just showing you. If you look down here, you can see that here as well. Now, the other thing you can do, which is really cool with the Supernote, is right from here, you can go ahead and convert and download into a PDF. So you don't have to go necessarily into that export function from within the note. And let me shrink this a little bit so it looks a little bit easier to read. And now what you have is this nice, clear representation of everything. And you'll see it has 7 pages. So it's actually going to include all of the different notes that were taken through that experience. It's just a nice way to be able to do two things. You can download the PDF, or you can just, if you want to look quickly, you can hit that image and you can just see it. It's right there. It's really fast and it's really responsive if you've downloaded it once already. Another cool thing about this, and this is, not unique by any means to the Supernote, but a lot of times I find myself managing my files on the Cloud app rather than trying to manage on the device, primarily because you have your recycle bin over here. And maybe it's just me because I'm old school and I'm always worried about accidentally deleting something and then not having it. If I delete something here on the Cloud app, I don't lose it. It goes into the recycle bin until I clear that out. If you delete something on the device here, it asks you before you hit delete if you're sure because it's not able to undo that delete. So the main thing you want to do is be really careful about that. That's why I tend to like to edit on here. It also makes it really easy to change names. So you just rename it and then you would click the check mark and change that name. You can select multiple files to download. You can create new folders. I do this a lot on the device when I'm in meetings or when I'm in real time and I need to do something. But that's the in the moment thing. But if you are planning ahead or if you're doing cleanup after the fact, it's much easier to go ahead and, like, let's just say we're going to move the oral exam and uh, the test link note, just to give an example here. And we're going to move those to one of the other folders. Now, the only thing that I don't like about this is it doesn't do what the device does natively, which is to go ahead and remember where you're currently at. We'll go ahead and move this really quick to the planner templates. And now you can see I've selected that. I hit save. Now they're going. That shows you that it is trying to work in real time now with that auto update. If you go back into the testing environment, now if you go into the planner templates, and then there is the oral exam documents. It's moving a lot faster than it was. But the bigger thing here is I do wish they would get that presence of knowing what folder you're in so that you could start there instead of having to go through the entire navigation again. It's not a huge thing, but it does take some extra time. All of your folder structure over here on the left comes over, including any emails, anything you've exported, any screenshots, any of your My Style files, so any of your templates. Now, I will tell you that if you go and try to download something big that's been converted into a note, like the MDO, which we've gone through in another video, or the Get It Done Planner, it will lock up. It'll give you an error code. So I'm going to report that bug to Supernote, but right now it's still doing that. However, if you open something that's smaller and doesn't have hyperlinks, it opens right up. Links can be either internal or external. If they are external and you download the PDF, they do transfer through. This is a live hyperlink that I included from the Supernote, and it went directly to my blog. So that's pretty cool. Now, if it's an internal link, it strips it and you just hover over it, and there's nothing there. So that would be a good example would be um, this one. So if I download that, and you can see there's no hyperlink there. It's just an image. It's really important to to understand the mechanics of the app. There is a learning curve there. Uh, quite frankly, I would have expected these to give an error, still actually show as a hyperlink, but obviously they don't. That's one way of how these files interact and how they look when it comes to being able to access them. A couple other things that I do want to show you really quickly. One thing is if you look at another way of accessing, so if you're wanting to clean up files, add new files, you can always plug in through the USB, but there are other options. One thing that they have that's really nice on the Supernote is this ability to basically use your wireless network as a jump point to be able to access everything you have. As long as you're on the wireless network, you can connect your device. What that allows you to do is natively upload straight from your PC. You can refresh it and see if anything has changed. Now, it doesn't have an auto sync feature here, but it's a lot faster in some ways. This is a really good way to view your files and upload new files. So if you want to add something new, especially a PDF that you're going to use, if you want to grab anything that's a PDF that's already on here, you can download that. If you want to add in or pull any of your exported files, so if you go back to the root directory and you want to go into pull any of the screenshots, pull any of your exports, anything that you may have gotten as an attachment through your email and you saved down, you can pull that off. But it's mostly, and I think rightly so, used to add files quickly. So when you go in, you're going to want to look at that and say, oh, well, you know what? I really need to upload these 5 or 6 PDFs. And it's a really quick way to do that. The last thing we're going to talk about really quickly as far as being able to take a look at things natively on the Supernode and from an organizational perspective uh, helps me tremendously. There are times when I want to show something and show it fairly quickly. For example, when we go to conference on these exams, my co-instructor and I could say, well, here's what happened during our exams. And we have all of these different ways of looking at it. You have a rotation feature over here, depending on what you have going on. One cool thing, if you swipe down on the device, now it has that rotation. So, and when I do, now you'll see that it is switched into the landscape orientation. I don't know why you would do that in this case because it's quadrants and it was really easy to use the other way, but it's just to show that functionality. We'll show how this works quickly. I think one of the issues, one thing I would say really quick is not to have both the screen mirroring and the file sharing on at the same time because that can overload the system if you're doing that. So I would pick one at a time and do that accordingly. But once you do, you can see right now this is moving really quickly since I turned off the other piece. So note, and you can see that moves really quick. And that's why I wanted to do this in real time. I wanted you to be able to see that. So now I can go ahead and do a test heading, and I can use my lasso tool, and I can go ahead and make that a header, and there we go. And one thing that's kind of nice, if you get close to the surface but don't touch it, you get this nice little pointer. I just wanted to take that. I really appreciate everybody's comments. I'll have a few closing thoughts here in a second, but I wanted to take a few minutes just to go through and show you some of the things that I think are kind of cool and kind of fun about this and how you can use it in a way uh, with the apps that it has natively. Now, again, there are plenty of other examples with OneNote and Dropbox and Google Drive, but the functionality you lose there or the ability to be able to natively see the notes. That's something that you're not going to be able to do. Welcome back. And just a few closing thoughts. Some things I found interesting when I was making this video, and also when thinking through kind of where we go from here. There'll be a lot more to cover over the next few weeks. They just released an update for the Supernote uh, earlier today, as a matter of fact, and at the time I'm recording this video. And I think it's important to note that they are trying to change some features. There's still some lag issues with some of the sync, but that's being worked on. Hopefully, what you can take away from this video is that if you're interested in being able to back up and access all of the files on your device, in real time and be able to show them and see them on the screen, you really need to think about at least using the cloud functionality built into the Supernote or the data sharing piece, or even the mirroring to a lesser degree. But the bigger issue is that if you use a service like OneDrive or Google Drive, which I was a huge proponent for them to come out with OneDrive integration. I thought that was I had to have it. It was a necessary thing. And to be fair or to be honest and completely transparent, at the time I was in a Microsoft shop. Now I'm in a Google shop. So then I thought, oh, well, they have that integration. So it's really important for me to use that. And I tried, and it didn't work for me. And the reason it didn't work is because I need access to the note files because I use that functionality and I use it a lot. And not being able to view those in Google causes a real problem. And I don't know how that all works. I know that you can view Microsoft files in Google and there's some kind of interoperability. And I don't know if that's ever going to happen with the Supernote. I don't know if it's going to happen with any of these e-ink tablets, to be honest, because they have their own proprietary notebook files. So we'll see. I think it's cool. I think it's neat. And it's a great to have for a backup as far as Google and Dropbox and OneDrive. But until you can read the note files, that's really all it is to me is a backup. I think the Supernote Cloud needs to get better in this space to be able to really drive home that functionality and that choice. uh, to allow the users to really maximize the utility of the device. But as always, thank you so much for hanging around. Thank you for watching. Again, like, subscribe, comment. If you think I'm off base, if you think that you want to see different content, if you have some suggestions, that's exactly where this video came from. Hopefully, this has been useful, and I will see you soon.